To today's LinkedIn Live. This is a Mark Makers conversation with Dr. Amy Canida, and we are going to dive into authentic leadership development. Amy has a fantastic story from childhood into leadership of hundreds of people. So really interested to hear her whole journey across that, into how she became authentic in her own leadership and now supports others to do that. So you can expect that we'll be talking about navigating some of these tensions in leadership, between clarity and compassion, for example, and breaking free from beliefs that cap your leadership potential. So, welcome, Amy. Great to have you.
Thank you, Nina. I'm so excited to be here today.
It's just going to be awesome to learn from you. Now, you have mentioned that your ideal clients are people who feel that they have to be a different person to be a successful leader. I think that's so interesting that people see themselves as one person and now they need to be a different person if they're going to step into that leadership position. So, can you walk us through your own journey from being quite shy, you mentioned, to leading hundreds of people across 50 hospitals? And what shifted for you? You know, that was there was a definite shift there, and yet you've been able to stay authentic. So would love to hear more from you about that journey.
I would love to tell you because I think it's impactful that I share my journey when so many others are also in the middle of that.
Yeah, right.
So,
Exactly.
as a child, I was incredibly shy and introverted. And I remember sitting in elementary school and I knew the answer to the question that the teacher was asking, but I was afraid to raise my hand because I didn't want to be the center of attention. And so as I got a little bit older, I got into middle school and I got tired of it. I felt like life was passing me by. Like I wasn't able to really latch on to opportunities or share with
Mm.
the world who I was. And so I really started thinking like I am tired of being uncomfortable about it. Like how can I move forward? And so I set a challenge for myself to do something that scared me every year.
Every year. Oh, this is good. So you chunked it down into years and you thought, if I get one thing that challenges me this year, that's great. Like a manageable goal. Very
Yeah.
cool.
I actually enrolled in speech, drama, and debate, and I found it incredibly fun. We even medaled at in dramatic duet, surprisingly,
Amazing.
from someone
Amazing.
who was shy.
Yeah.
There, that really became my journey. And as I went through high school, it gave me the confidence to say, okay, it's scary. I'm afraid of it, but I can do it
Mm.
anyway.
Yeah.
And so I ran for office and, all the way through vet school. And when I started my career, I was comfortable doing things that scared me. And I still even now, after so many years in leadership, I still at the beginning of every year, what am I going to do this year that scares me?
Amazing.
I love that. I love
It
that.
is really. Yeah, I love hearing you say that, because I imagine that then, so this is interesting, I think, misunderstanding that we get courage from being prepared,
Mhm.
and or that we get, and that feeling of confidence that I can do something comes from being prepared or being ready. And I think in your story, you're saying it came afterwards. It came from set the challenge, do the thing, and then you saw a shift. You saw that sense of confidence, and I'm going to turn up in these moments after setting the challenge and doing it.
Yes. And I love that you said that about preparation because I am a person who likes to prep before I do things because I'm very detail oriented. And I think many leaders being, type A
Yeah,
personalities and things like that also do. And
yeah.
so they relate to that. But I think the part that helped me the most was doing things when I wasn't able to prep. And then maybe even doing them not the right way the first time.
Mm, mm,
Part of that journey was saying, okay,
good.
even if it didn't go perfect the first time, there's that perfectionism in there. Go back and do it again. And what did you learn from that? And that's a really big part of leadership because oftentimes, and I love this too, because people will say you're a born leader. That's a saying, and I actually don't believe that. I believe that people have different characteristics of communication and personality. But I don't believe that people are born leaders, because there are so many skills. It's a very definite skill set that you build, and you build it through experience.
Nice.
Build it from doing things maybe not the very best way and learning. And that's really the most successful leaders that I see and I work with have done that. Just
Yes.
go out there, do it if it scares you, even if you're not prepared,
Yeah.
and
So
learn.
so good, so good. I love that. That's really a role for the two. And another thing that you've told me about is the importance of structures in and having these foundational structures in place to be successful. And that you're seeing that people try to do leadership without certain structures in place. So what does that look like, and what do you see happening there? The difference between having these structures in place and not.
Mhm. I love that you asked this question, because I would say a very high percentage of leaders that I talk to and I work with in my programs come to me because they're frustrated. They're overwhelmed. They're working 60 hours a week. They miss their kid's soccer game again, or maybe they haven't even made any soccer games
Mm,
and it's weighing on them. So their
yeah,
energy is down. They're exhausted because the things that they're doing are everyone else's tasks, and they're
yes.
micromanaging, they're fighting those fires, and they just don't see a way forward. And that's the really hard part of leadership that I don't think gets talked about enough. And so, one of the things that we do within my programs and through my RISE framework, which my programs are built on, is we really start, and in the R phase of that, is reframe. And so, really, within that, we do a few things. We come back to ourselves. And so, I
Mm,
work with them to really dispel the myths and the things that they believe. Sometimes it's about themselves, like, I'm not cut out for this long term. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Or it's my team. They're different. They're never going to be as successful as Sally's team over there. And so we really work through some of those myths, and we work on what they're doing with their time and how they move
mm,
forward. And so the biggest things that, as we go through the RISE framework, we work on are building a sustainable structure and process for them to be successful. So we're seeing that shift from I'm micromanaging, I'm doing everyone else's tasks, I'm overwhelmed, and I don't have any room for strategy and
mm,
to lead, to, okay, how do we break this down? And so I explain it like a triangle. And so the top of the triangle really is operational results. And of course, working for any company, in order to keep your leadership role, you have to get results. And that's what we're there for. But the bottom of the triangle really is culture. And if you don't have these cultural pieces built, it's really hard to get sustainable results. When they don't have the bottom of the culture built down here,
mm,
then they're holding all the operational results on their own shoulders, and they're actually leading around their team instead of,
mm.
so
So
their body
good.
is tired. And so that bottom, that culture is really split into two pieces, two corners, and one is development. And so developing your people to have that skill set to be able to produce those operational results, and into leadership so that you're freed up a little bit. And the other side is engagement. And so once you get them developed and you have this great team, you're keeping them. They're not turning over and going somewhere else. And so you keep great, wonderful, developed people, and then you're able to really push forward with those operational results in a
Mm,
sustainable way.
nice. And is there something in the middle? It sounds like those are the two corners of the bottom of the triangle, and then the top is operational results. And is there something in the middle there?
Yeah, it's really sustainability. That's
Yeah.
the middle, where of your role again. You're happy with what you're doing,
Yeah.
and everything it's the calm versus the chaos in the middle of the triangle. And that's when we really see leaders say, I'm ready to promote now. I have the confidence, I have the structure and processes in place, and I feel really good about where this is going. Now let's talk about that next level.
Brilliant. Brilliant. It sounds like it's bringing calm to the chaos. It's bringing order to a really, what can be quite a fraught situation where leaders have got so many moving parts and so many things to think about. And then by providing this focus, I imagine you really help them to get clear on where to spend their time and what to focus on.
Yes, for sure.
And we talked about kind and clear. We talked about clarity, and we talked about how people don't always see kind and clear as the same thing, and they feel a tension between the two. So, why is that a dangerous belief, and how do you help your clients to move past that?
You mentioned at the very beginning that a lot of my ideal clients that I work with inside my programs come to me and they feel like they have to be someone else to lead. They feel like here are my organization's goals, but I can't do those with who I am as a leader. They're asking me to step up and to be something different. And they insert words into that like mean or uncaring or words like that. They want, I have to be uncaring in order to drive these results, or I have to be a machine in order to drive these results. And I know a lot of leaders feel that way. And so one of the things that we work on is really the belief that you can be kind, you can be a caring person, you can care about your team, you can be invested in them, but you can also be really clear about your expectations. And I think that gets muddled a lot. Is a lot of leaders are challenged in setting clear expectations for their team so that they know. And there's a lot that goes into that. Everyone has a different communication style. And so one of the things that we work on is if you have a message, say clear expectations, for example, and you are talking with your team and setting those expectations, if everyone on your team has a different communication style, they're not all going to hear the same thing that you're saying if you're only saying it one way. So we really work to how do you understand yourself and your own communication style? And then how do you communicate with others, understanding their communication style? Because part of being a great leader is that agility, that leadership
Mm,
agility, being able in the moment to
totally.
change, that situational leadership, to change your message and meet them where they are so that they can hear it. So it doesn't become a game of telephone, where it gets down the line and it's something totally different than you intended with your expectations. And so
Yeah.
I think that's a really important part and something that we do within the RISE framework. It's actually the I, which is inspire. And John Maxwell says leadership is influence. We're working on this influence, building
Mm,
influence, and it starts with understanding yourself and
yeah,
then
it really
others.
does. Yeah, it's such a fantastic insight or quote that we talk about with him, because every moment that we're speaking, we're influencing. We're taking people on a journey to think what we are thinking. That's what our words do, and it's so powerful to recognize that people have different frames that they come to conversation with, and to take responsibility as a leader for how people have received the information. There's a fabulous quote about the only problem with communication is that you think that you are the one who you think that you're right most of the time. That actually we don't recognize that what we've said is not necessarily received in a certain way, in the way that we intended it. And when we take responsibility for that, we're much more likely to be an effective communicator. So it's it's powerful to do that, and powerful for leaders. I think that's just gold. And you talked about people, the importance of people investing in these skills and investing in themselves, and the cost of not investing in their own development. I was really interested in uh, this fact that you brought out, of what it actually costs to not invest in yourself as a leader. Do you want to
Yes.
talk about that?
I would love to. So there's some research done by research.com and exec.com that actually said that leaders that invested in themselves in effective leadership training could actually increase their overall income by 20 to 25% per year.
Which,
So if we say that we have a leader that's say making a little over $100,000 a year, over 5 years in their role, they're going to earn about $500,000 over 5 years. But those leaders that have invested in effective leadership training, they can actually increase their take home from promotions, commissions, and bonuses almost $250,000. So let's flip that around a little bit, because there's a cost. I call it the cost of staying stuck. There's so much going on. We're so busy. We don't invest in ourselves, especially as women. We invest in everyone around us. And it's coming on the end of the year here. And one of the things that I really love to remind my community about is, as you're making your budgets for 2026, both time budgets and investment budgets, make sure that you invest in yourself. You secure the time and the funding to invest in yourself. Because if you don't, and you make about $100,000 a year in your role, you could be losing up to $250,000 over a 5-year period.
Yes. Yeah.
Bonuses and commissions. And if you make more than that, the number just goes up. So let's say you're making $150,000. It's over $366,000 that you're
It
losing.
really adds up. It's incredible, isn't it, to think about that? And we have talked about some of these challenges people face with authenticity, where they are doing work for other people, essentially, that their calendar is getting subsumed into other people's goals rather than under their own control, that perhaps it's the way they communicate is not actually achieving the things that are most important to them. Are there any other challenges or that you see in authenticity, where you see leaders really struggling to be true to themselves, if that's what it means to you? What would you say are some of the other challenges that people face in that space of being authentic?
Yes, I think definitely having your calendar match your values, like you just said,
Mm,
important. And that's one of the things that I see really often is everyone else's tasks and everyone else's priorities, but the leaders.
yeah,
And they are so overwhelmed and they're not freed up to lead.
yeah.
They're doing something else. I think in addition to that, we see a lot of imposter syndrome.
Mm,
When we talk about visibility as a leader, and I always like to give this example is really, really successful and great leaders aren't always the loudest people in.
yes.
Have someone who has a great presence. They may be very charismatic and they're always in the center of attention, right? And that doesn't mean they're the best leader. And so really having, that's another thing that I see is coupled with that feeling that maybe they're not cut out for this, or maybe they have to become someone else, that person that's, maybe they have to become that person that's the loudest person in the room to lead. And I think that if they can't go further until they come back to themselves and really start working through this, because it's holding them back. It's holding
Yeah.
them back from investing in themselves because they don't feel like they're worth it.
Yeah.
It's holding them back from feeling like I can get that promotion, or I can, shoot for the stars in what I'm doing,
Mm,
and I can love my role
mm,
because they're stuck in these myths that they tell themselves.
yes.
Their team and their team is different than everybody else's team, or that they don't have the presence or the visibility,
Yes.
executive presence. And I know we talked a bit about just that word
Yeah.
and I always call it executive presence is an enigma, right? Because who really knows the true definition of what that is? And I think it brings us full circle here, because it's really great to think about, what how do you become a visible leader? What does that really look like? And I think it's all the things that we've talked about today. We start with confidence, and I do think confidence is important, but it's not the end all be all, because the loudest person in the room has confidence, right? But they may not be a successful leader. And so just thinking back on all the things that we talked about today is they get confidence by putting those structures and processes in place that allow them to have the experience and the space to love their role and get those great results sustainably. That's what really drives that. And you see a difference in confidence, in presence, and in their ability to really show up differently when they're able to do that. And so I think it sort of echoes my journey too, from from shy introvert to veterinarian and leadership coach, in that all those experiences, even the misses, you know,
Yes.
what builds a person to have that confidence and presence and be able to challenge themselves to make their role, their leadership role, what they really want it to be.
Love it. It's like it's a picture of it being the bedrock, if you like, for them to be able to then be successful in their role. So if they're freed up from from the pressures, from the challenges, from the tension, but the misalignments, then they're much more able to turn up in a moment and be present, in that sense of be mindful, be aware, be thinking about others, be really listening, be someone who's then ready to speak their piece and to say the thing that people need to hear probably from them. So
Yes.
yeah, it's so good. It's really a great perspective around having that structure and becoming a leader who has the house sorted in a way so that you can get your stuff done and then turn up and be there for people in that leadership role. Thank you so much, Amy. Is there anything you wanted to add before we share something that you're offering to people?
Yeah, I think just we talked a bit about the RISE framework, which is the foundation which my programs are built on. And I truly think with that foundation, the ability to rise is there. And
Yeah,
so we talked about the reframe and the inspire, and then just to talk briefly about the S is strengthen. And so that's really taking
nice.
hard skills of leadership, meaning performance management, change management, developing your team. And you've learned the influence. You've gone through the beginning where you're reframing, you're getting rid of those myths that you're believing, you're opening the possibilities back up. And then you're looking at what current processes do you have, and then you're starting to build them with
Mm,
support. And then finally, the E is empower. And this is where you're building sustainability. You're working through your people and you're creating really robust goals and plans for yourself for the next year so that you can continue the momentum that you've built as you're going through this. And so,
mhm.
and then they reach the center of that triangle, like we talked
Yeah,
about,
yeah, nice.
loving the role. So it kind of all fits together,
So
as we go.
good. Yeah, it's a really clear process. I think that sounds there's so much comfort, if that's the right word, in having a process that is going to take you from chaos to calm.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just sounds very clearly thought through. So I know you have this free guide for people, the Visible Leader: Elevate Your Impact Without Changing Your Identity. Did you want to
Yeah.
talk about that? I love this. That's such a great title because of this concern about, do I have to become someone else? Yeah.
Yes, I would love to. And I think really within this workbook that I have prepared is a lot of we talked about the self work, and
Mm,
very start of the journey to rise is coming back to yourself. And in order to do that, you have to really think about it and be thoughtful about what you believe about yourself and what you believe about visibility and leadership. And so this
mm,
really just takes them through working to get back to that central part of yourself, because you cannot be your best leadership self until you're there and
yes.
you feel authenticity really is the word.
Yeah.
um,
Great.
and so just leading them through that, it has scripts in here, it has some wonderful reflection questions just to
Brilliant.
think about what do they think visibility and leadership is, and is that
Mm,
really what it is,
yeah.
and just walking through what it's costing them to stay invisible. So some of the
Yeah.
things that we talked
Yeah.
about through the conversation today, there's a visibility audit and just some really great pieces of this that will
Great.
help them about visibility in a different way and maybe identify some opportunities and a starting place for them.
Yeah, so good. It's like a landscape review, and then you can decide where do you want to go next? So good. So people can access that. I have dropped the link into a comment on this event page. So that's a really good way to for people to get that. Is there any other way that they would access it? Is it on your website, or is this is the one place to get it?
This is the one place to get it right now.
Amazing.
Exclusive.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for doing that. It's incredible to have access to that, and that a really great way for people to see your framework and understand that better for themselves. So thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journey with us, and to everyone watching, thank you for being here and investing in your leadership growth and making a difference to yourself and to your teams. There is something that can inspire us all from John Maxwell. A leader is one who knows the way, who goes the way, and who shows the way. And so I think when we think about rising to visible leadership, being that leader that people can follow, who is showing them the way, is really something amazing and a service to everyone. So thanks again for watching. Thanks, Amy, for being here. And join us next week for another Mark Makers conversation. Thanks, everyone.